I had a mom came up to me and she said, "What did you do to my son?" And I thought she was serious, which she was, but I thought something happened. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, he likes school. He's coming home, he's studying, he's talking about what's going on in his classes. She said, "What'd you do to him?" I said, "Nothing I did." But I when we have graduation, parents always come up and say, "Thank you for everything you did for him. He's such a wonderful young man now, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "We're just helping you as parents. That's all we're doing."
All right, guys, welcome back to a brand new episode of the Hart Hustle podcast. Today's going to be a great conversation because I have an amazing leader sitting across this digital table with me. I have Kurt Ruffing. Kurt, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Keenan. I'm happy to be here with you.
Today's going to be an amazing conversation because a lot of people don't know about me that we've talked about here on the podcast is I came from an incredibly important experience in high school. I went to an all-guys Catholic school called Detroit Catholic Central. In our previous conversation, you said that you've actually heard of that institution, but the way in which it impacted me, it changed the trajectory of my life. And so as we kind of get started here, Kurt, I want to share a quote with you. There's an amazing author. His name is Kevin Kelly. He has a quote from one of his most recent books. He says, "You lead by letting others know what you expect of them, which may exceed what they expect of themselves. Provide them a reputation to live up to." What do you think about that?
I think it kind of resonates with the way I try to be a leader. Let them know what I expect of them and let them go at it. I'm sure you've heard this before. You surround yourself with smart people and good people, and you're going to have a good team. And, I coached wrestling and baseball here for many years. So, I highly liken the way I run a school to coaching. Build yourself a good coaching staff and you can do a lot of good.
Let's talk a little bit about your origin story, Kurt. So one of the unique things is you actually attended Elder High School, which I think is incredible. So let's talk a little bit about your origin story, maybe some of that competitive grit that you had when you were going to school and how that translated in you becoming the future leader of the school as well.
Yeah. So I came to Elder. I had two older brothers and a brother younger than me. We all went to Elder. Our dad was from Columbus, Ohio, so he didn't go to Elder. I came here and had a great time. The academics were awesome. The overall experience was awesome. Elder back then provided a lot for the students, and I think now there's so many more experiences, so many more opportunities for our students. But anyway, I graduated from Elder, and then while I was here, I got involved in all kinds of clubs. One of the clubs that I did get involved with was the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and that was something that we got to share, our spiritual faith with student athletes from other schools in the Cincinnati area. So I really enjoyed being part of that. So I played football freshman year and then gave that up to concentrate on wrestling, wrestled all 4 years, and ended up being a captain my senior year. When I left Elder, I went on to Miami University in Oxford and spent 4 years there. When I was there, when I came home for like Christmas break, Thanksgiving break, I would help out with the wrestling program. Then it was my senior year at Miami in the spring when the principal at that time, I was at a wrestling match, the district wrestling tournament, supporting our beloved Elder Panthers. And he asked me what my plans were. He knew I was in math education. And I told him I just printed out my resumes and went to Kinko's to make copies. I don't think they have Kinko's anymore. But anyway, he asked me if I'd be willing to come back and teach at Elder. And I knew the principal pretty well. So, wow, I never thought about that. So he gave me a week to think about it. He called me the following Sunday, and I said, yeah, I'd love to. So came down the following Monday, signed a contract, and the rest is history.
Wow. It's so cool to think about how when we're on the right path, God and the universe has a way of conspiring with us to bring us back to an opportunity to contribute to the legacy that had such a big impact on us. If we had to kind of boil down your experience at Elder and how it impacted you as a man, as a character, how do you kind of think that the school left an imprint on you and kind of encourage you to come back and give back as much as you have?
Yeah. So I think, so my dad died when I was 12. I was in sixth grade. And I think my time at Elder, they treated us like men, young men, not little boys. They treated us like men, expected us to behave and act like men. And I think just the caring nature of our faculty and staff, including the coaching staff, really played a big part of my life at that time. And I remember it was my junior year when I was at Elder, and I thought, I want to be a math teacher. I'm not sure why I thought that way at that time.
Yeah, me
But
either.
I do think the impact that our faculty and staff had on me and what I was going through at that time in my life played a major role in making that decision and wanting to get back to the school.
It's really interesting to me how when you have a fundamental experience in education, like I did at Detroit Catholic Central and like you did at Elder, it changes the trajectory of your life. I had a lot of friends who often went to public school, went to different places, and turned out not the best version of themselves, right? So how fundamental do you really think the impact of a good Catholic education is on shaping, the future individual who's going to be able to go out into society and do right by others and just be a good individual?
Yeah. And, by no means am I, and I'm sure you're not, putting down public schools at all. We have a lot of good public schools around here. But, just being in a Catholic school, we have the opportunity to talk about God, to talk about Jesus, talk about our faith, where you can't do that in a public school. And every year we start the school year off with an all-school mass out in our stadium. We have a football stadium right here on campus. It was started to be built in the early 1940s by our faculty and staff. It's a huge concrete horseshoe type of stadium. It seats about 10,000. So we opened up the school year with a mass outside in the stadium. And I always, when mass is over, I always talk to the student body and our faculty and staff. And I remind them that this is why we're here. We're here because of our faith, because of our Catholic faith. And Elder will always be known for that. And we have the opportunity to join together and with our faith and like I said, do it together as a whole student body. And I think that sets a tone for the school year. And then, every month we have at least one school mass. Today we had Eucharistic adoration. So half the student body gets to spend about 45 minutes in silence with Jesus's body there. Every morning we have a communion service for all the faculty and staff who want to attend it before school starts. So all of those things together just it reinforces the Catholic faith, what Jesus taught us, what Jesus wants us to be. And again, you can't get that in a public school at that time, during the school day. So I don't know if that answers your question.
It does. The foundation, right, of faith and unity as a group transforms you. When you feel like you're a part of something bigger, this is something that I feel like we're battling in society in general. I talked about in our previous conversation. 2022, Surgeon General comes onto a national broadcast and says the biggest challenge in our society today is not another viral pandemic, but an epidemic of isolation and loneliness. Now, when I think about setting the tone at the beginning of the year and bringing people together and saying, this is why we are here, a unifying experience of our faith allows for us to create that conscious and subconscious connection to the community that we're a part of. And that brotherhood, that sisterhood, that union of people allows for everybody to come together for a greater cause. And I think we need a little bit more of that in society today, that sense of community.
Yeah. I think we need a lot more of that. Just this morning, um, every other week, instead of having a communion service before Mass, we have a priest that comes in and says a Mass. So this morning I'm at the Mass, and we probably had about 20 students there and probably about 15, 20 staff members. But two of our students aren't Catholic. So, they went up at the time of communion and they gave the cross like that. But I thought, how cool. They're not even Catholic, and they're coming to Mass before school, not during school, but before school started, to join in with everybody else. So, and again, this just allows us to spread the good news of Jesus.
It's got to feel so good to be a part of such a transformational process for so many of these young individuals. One of the things I talked about in our previous conversation was there was a distinct difference in how we went in to my high school as freshmen and then came out as graduating seniors. Often our parents would say, I don't know what they're doing in that school, but something has changed inside you. You look people in the eye, you shake their hand. You guys are the nicest gentlemen, the nicest boys. Let's talk a little bit about the transformation. I'm hoping that you can share a story about a mom who said, what did you do to my son in this little experience of what you guys have done?
Yeah. So, I'll start with, when we had freshman orientation in the evening, we have a Mass for the freshmen and their parents. And then at the end of Mass, I get up and I say a few words about the school, welcoming everybody to the school. And then everybody gets an Archbishop Elder t-shirt. So every freshman has to come up, shake my hand to get the shirt. So now we'll fast forward a little. School started. We're in our second week of school. We have a meet the teacher program. So the parents come in the evening. They spend 2 hours here. They go through their son's schedule. Each class is 10, 15 minutes long. So when there's change of class, when the parents are out and about moving around, I always like to be out in the hallway and just talking with people. And I had a mom came up to me and she said, what did you do to my son? And I thought she was serious, which she was, but I thought something happened. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, he likes school. He's coming home. He's studying. He's talking about what's going on in his classes. He said, what'd you do to him? I said, nothing I did. But when we have graduation, parents always come up and say, thank you for everything you did for him. He's such a wonderful young man now, blah, blah, blah. And I said, we're just helping you as parents. That's all we're doing. So to me, I'm a firm believer of it all starts in the house. How are these parents raising their kids? And, we're fortunate to have good families, and it makes our jobs a lot easier dealing with young men who want to be here. Not that we don't have some idiots, every school does, but, they're growing up, they're learning and making mistakes like we all did. But we're very fortunate to have good families.
I mean, you just are an extension of those families. Sometimes we do have those knuckleheads, right, who come through the system, but the transformation that they experience over the 4 years is absolutely amazing. I want to talk a little bit about, you being the principal of Elder High School. What kind of things are we focusing on from a leadership perspective in building the culture who invests so much into this next generation of great leaders who are coming through the system?
I go back to my time when I was here, and I want our students to have a similar experience. And I'm not going to say I want them to have a better experience. I want them to have a similar and wonderful experience, whatever that would be. We have so much to offer here at Elder, for our kids to get involved with. one of our big things at Elder is get involved. We don't want you coming here at 7:50 in the morning and leaving at 2:30. Get involved. Make this your second home. So you make this your second home. You treat it like your second home. You take care of the property. You take care of everything here. We treat each other like family, all that, all that good stuff. Um, so that's a message that we preach from day one. Get involved, get involved, get involved. And by the time they become juniors and seniors, it's interesting because we'll get a number of them who will say, I want to try this now. So to see a junior or senior go out for football when they never played before is pretty impressive. We have what's called Elder News Network. It's the short name is ENN. So this is a student-led club where they live stream all of our sporting events, anything else that we have going on. So on a Friday night, maybe this Friday, we have a home game, Keenan. Get on our website. You can watch the live stream of our football game. But it is about 99% student run. It's an awesome broadcast. But have you ever heard of Bill Hemmer with Fox News?
I have not.
Bill Hemmer. He's one of their top guys. Anyway, he's an 83 Elder grad.
Oh, no way.
He helped out a lot with developing this ENN, Elder News Network. So he's in contact with our students quite a bit. But this is a little program where if you're not an athlete, you're not into music, you're not into drama, this is just something else that our kids can get involved with. So, one of the things that I'm trying to do here at Elder is just try to provide as much as possible for our students to get involved with so everyone can find their little niche. And that's not just for our students, it's for our faculty, staff. We want our families involved. We keep our alumni involved. So it's the whole community.
There's a character trait of curiosity here, right? And thinking about how many different ways we can get people involved into the overall programming and the thesis of the school, right? Because when I went through school, right, it was very much if you were part of sports or if you were part of band or you were in the student section. But now there's so many other opportunities for kids to get involved and contribute to the greater mission of Elder, which I feel like is so beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll go back to the ENN. On a given Friday night when we're broadcasting a football game, we will have about 48 states where there's someone watching it and about 5 countries.
It's a global broadcast.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. When you have a parent who's in the military who is able, if they're off and they're able to watch their son playing football, wrestling, playing whatever it would be, it's really cool. The only thing I don't like about that is, if it's a chance for rain and we have a home game, people will stay home or they'll go to the local establishment to watch the game. Because we have several establishments on the west side of Cincinnati that will actually show the games, our football games. Yeah.
What are some of the priorities, I would say, of Elder High School when it comes to, I would say, forming the next generation of great leaders who come into our communities to do right by everybody? What are some of the things that you guys are focusing on from a principal's perspective?
Yeah, I would say probably the biggest thing would be community service. Elder's really well known for our community service over the years. It's a joke in Cincinnati that every other police officer in the city is an Elder grad or a fireman. They're almost right, but we really stress community service, giving back. We have a class here for juniors and seniors where they go out into the community during that class time and they do perform community service. Typically, they're going to a local public school, like an elementary school, and they'll help the teacher tutor the kids. They'll do that kind of stuff. It's just, we do a lot of community service stuff. In the winter, we have a food toy drive. All of our students are involved with it. So that would be the biggest trait, I think, is just looking out for one another and our neighbors.
It's a beautiful story. You know, this is one of the things that I want to talk a little bit more about on the podcast, especially with guests like you, is just the impact of community, right? When we give back to the people around us, the impact that we have is multiplicative, right? We don't understand how just the small amount of effort and the time that we give back to the community creates a bigger sense of connection. And especially when people see, you know, a whole bunch of students showing up with that elder high school across their chest, they know that you guys are the institution who's encouraging these younger people to give back out, get into the community and give back. And I feel like we just don't see a lot of that, especially, you know, across a lot of society today, which is so sad.
Yeah. And, you know, with Memorial Day coming up, uh, we have every year we have a memorial mass on Memorial Day, Veterans Day. And we, in Vietnam War, Elder High School had the most grads who passed away from during the war than any other high school in the state of Ohio. So we had 11 grads that were killed in action in Vietnam. Um, so since then, we've had a mass every year. We invite community members who've lost a loved one, in addition to the families of those 11 grads. Um, it is such a beautiful mass. You can hear a pin drop the entire mass. So when you're talking, you know, we have 840 um, young men in the building, students, and you can hear a pin drop for about an hour. That tells you, kind of gives you some idea um, of how reverent this mass is. But in addition to that, we have what's called a Support the Troops Club. This is our students formed this about, I'm in my ninth year as principal, so probably about 12 years ago, they formed this club. So every year during the holidays, we collect all kinds of stuff for our troops, grads who are serving in the military, and then we send them a big box with all these supplies. It could be toiletries, letters, uh, cookies, candy, whatever it would be. But you know that in itself, for our students who are involved with that, it's crazy uh, to see how emotional they get. So it's really cool.
I'm wondering if there's a connection to the culture that you guys have built at Elder and the willingness to give back to the community. When I think about 11 students, right, who passed away in Vietnam, obviously the culture of selflessness has been an undercurrent that you guys have been able to establish in the community of the high school. And I wonder how you guys execute on that so well. You know what I mean? Because getting people to think bigger than themselves in today's world is a big challenge. But it seems like you guys have that ingrained into the culture of your guys' organization, which is so phenomenal.
Yeah, and I yeah, I think we do. But you know, I think a lot of Catholic schools, high schools, probably do as well. So I don't think we're very unique in that sense. But I do think that we excel in it. I'll put it that way. We excel in it. Um, we we had a veteran teacher. His name was Mark Klusman. He was single all his life. He was in his, I don't know, say 45th year of teaching at Elder. He was an Elder grad, 61 Elder grad, and he did community service all the time, every weekend with our students. So he was performing community service on a given Saturday, right around where the school is in Price Hill, and he was getting equipment out of the back of his truck, and behind his truck was another parked car. They were on a hill. This young girl was drunk and high, drove down the hill, lost control, hit the truck, pinned him between the truck and the car, and he survived for about 2 weeks. So we now hold one Saturday in April, we hold a Mark Klusman Day of Service. So we invite all of our students, our families, alumni to join in. We have several different locations around the city where we go. It might be mulching, cleaning up garbage, whatever. So, you know, doing things like that. Just, I think reaffirms to the students how important it is to give back.
You know, part of your guys' motto is to strive for higher things. Why is that part of your guys' motto, and what does that mean to you guys as an institution?
Yeah. So altiora is a Latin word that means to strive for the higher things. So that's been our school's motto for many, many, many years. Like I said, we're in our 103rd year. Without doing some research, I can't say for sure when that became our motto, but it's been a long time. Um, Here's an interesting story. So when I was a student here, the summer before my senior year, I, along with a few other wrestlers, went up to a wrestling camp at Ohio State University, which is about 2 hours north of where we are. And when we're up there, I saw this quote: "What I had, I gave; what I saved, I lost." And I thought, wow, I really like that meaning. So we got back from the camp, and I talked to our head wrestling coach at the time, asked him if we could paint it on the wall in the gym where we practice and held wrestling matches. And he said, "Oh, that's fine with me." He said, "Ask the athletic director." So the athletic director at the time was Mike Honnold. I went to Mr. Honnold, asked him, and he said, "Yeah." He said, "I'll buy the paint. You guys paint it." I said, "Okay." So I gathered up about 5 wrestlers. We got the extension ladders out, masking tape, and we painted that quote on the wall. And this is at the time was in our main gym. So it was our second gym. We practiced wrestling in there, everything else. But that quote, "What I had, I gave; what I saved, I lost," fully embodies our school motto, Altiora, to strive for the higher things. Don't ever quit. Don't ever give up. Keep pressing forward. And, so now, 3 years ago, we built a fitness center, and in the main lobby of the fitness center is that quote. My wife was not happy because we painted over the original quote in the gym. She was not happy that we decided to do that. She always liked to be able to say, "My husband painted that." But anyway, our kids weren't happy either. But that quote, when you come on our campus, everyone sees it. So again, that fully embodies that our school motto, to strive for the higher things. And we're constantly pushing our students to do that, whether it's in the classroom, on the playing field, in the hallways, out in society. It doesn't matter where. Strive for the higher things.
I love that. What I had, I gave; what I saved, I lost. Naturally, when I heard that, I came from a place of abundance. You know, often when we have opportunities to pour into others, we should take that at every opportunity. And sometimes when we save things and we don't give those things away, it impacts others in a negative way. You know what I mean? That's an interesting little twist on the idea of abundance and how much we can give back to others, especially
Yes.
when we have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah. And I tell students all the time, you can apply that to everything in your life, everything: academics, sports, relationships, giving back, everything.
So, Kurt, with the current challenges that we face across the landscape of education, right? What are some of the things that you're most concerned about as the principal of your guys' organization and the things that you guys are instilling in the next generation of leaders? I know there's a lot of division. There's a lot of isolation that's happening around us. What are some of the things that you guys are focusing on that you guys really want to kind of get ahead of when it comes to leaving an imprint on this next generation?
Self-respect. I think that's lacking in a lot of people, is self-respect. Because if you don't respect yourself, how are you going to respect others?
Mm.
And if you have self-respect, it all goes back to our Catholic. Doesn't have to be a Catholic faith. It all goes back to your faith. Um, you believe in God. You believe in doing what's right, what's just, what's moral. Then I think you're going to have self-respect. And if you have self-respect, then you're going to respect other people. And I think that's important to get across to these young people. With what we're seeing with gun violence, you turn on the news every day, someone shot, with gender identity, all that kind of stuff. That again, it goes back to self-respect and believing in God, believing in doing what's right and what's just. That also is a concern of mine, that the more this stuff is pushed in society, in the news, the liberal news, I shouldn't have said that, but that it's okay. No, it's not okay. I was born a male, I'm a male. So it's not okay for me to become a female. So that's my personal opinion. But I am concerned that the more this young generation hears this stuff, the more they're going to think it's acceptable. And who knows what our society will be like in how many years. So that's a big concern. So here at Elder, we're teaching self-respect.
I almost think about self-respect as a foundation that we can lean on in the tough times, right? We can always lean back into that self-respect for ourselves, and that changes the way in which we can interact or tolerate the behavior of others. And it puts our opportunities to put ourselves on a pedestal to avoid some of the challenging decisions that often our younger people get put into, and I think it comes back to the element of a foundation of community. It's very tough for one person's opinion to break through all the noise out there. But when you have a community of unified individuals who believe in the same morals and values, it's very easy to find yourself aligned with that and a part of a larger community who can support you in some of those tough times. And I feel like you guys have done an amazing job of that, man. It's so cool to talk to leaders like you.
I agree, Keenan. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, family. You have that family foundation. Not that you're not going to have issues and struggles, but you can deal with them. Without family, without your faith, how do you deal with that stuff?
Let's talk a little bit about the vision for the future of Elder, right? You've been there in the origin story. You've come back to contribute for now 9 years as the principal of the organization. What is the next 5 years going to look like on the roadmap of Elder?
So, as I said, we're in our 103rd year. And one of our quotes here is, we have a great tradition, something to believe in. So, I'm a firm believer of tradition, but at the same time, we have to make changes. So I don't want to be the principal forever. Someone, soon will need to come in and, call it fresh blood, offer new ideas, that kind of stuff. But, moving forward, I just want to make sure that, that we remain strong with our Catholic faith, with the community service, everything that we talked about that I think that Elder excels in. That's what I want to see continue. We are forever surveying our students, our parents, prospective parents, about what they want out of the Elder experience. So whether that's academics, athletics, spiritual awareness, social aspect, we're always looking for input. And my feeling is, I think we're a very good school, but we can always improve. Always. I can improve as a leader. Our teachers can improve. Students can improve. So to me, it's important that we keep an open mind and we want to keep improving. And that all goes back to our school motto, Altiora.
Well, Kurt, I can say, man, I feel a lot more comfortable knowing that there are great leaders out there like you who are having such a huge impact on the next generation of individuals who are coming to serve our community. Striving to strive for higher things is a great way to say exactly what you guys are doing and leaving a mark on this next generation, man. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Seriously, it means absolutely the world to me.
Yeah, thank you for asking. Yeah.
One of the traditions that we have here on the podcast is we have a question that our previous guest wants to ask you. Now, this is a blind question. They knew nothing about you, nothing about your role or organization. Their question was, if you had a magic wand and you could change one thing, what would you change with the wave of that wand?
I think that we all can get, so that we all in our world can get along better. That would be it.
I think that's a beautiful message for us to be able to end on here today, Kurt. Once again, thank you for coming on the Hart Hustle podcast. You are the definition of Hart and Hustle. Guys, we'll catch you in the next one.
All right. Thank you.